Hello, 3D modelers. We're going to be looking at working with sketches today. Probably for one of you, when you learned about sketching during art and design class, I think, it was the previous Fusion 360 interface, so it's going to look a little bit different for one of you. But I think what I'm going to do is explain stuff as I go and just show you what I want you to make and show you how you can redesign it if you want to. Sketching gives you, starting with a sketch, just a 2D flat, either open or closed objects. So starting with that gives you more flexibility. You can make a box in this method, and obviously you can make a box by using the primitive, but there's stuff you can do with a box that you sketch that you can't do with a primitive box. And I'm going to save this right away. So let's call it truck via sketch techniques. Okay, so we're going to make a truck. That means that I'm going to start with a box, which actually means when we're sketching it, we have to start with a rectangle. So anytime you want to sketch, not anytime. If you're starting a new sketch, you're going to use this button. Sometimes you want to go in and edit or add something to another sketch, and I'll tell you about that as we get on. But for now, we're going to click Sketch. You should be familiar with this page, with this choice. So I'm going to sketch on the floor. And then it just changes to a 2D shape. So because I chose the floor, I'm looking at it from a bird's eye view, and I'm going to go ahead and draw my base rectangle that will form the foundation for my box. And the other thing to note is that your ribbon has changed. So your ribbon is now showing you commands that are only available for sketch. And then when you're done with your sketch and you want to go back to 3D solid modeling tools, we'll finish the sketch. Let me go back to 2-point rectangle. So you do it by clicking one corner point. Notice I didn't drag, I just clicked. And then click the other corner point. So I'm going to decide 40 by 100. And this is the only sketch I want to make, so I'm going to click Finish Sketch. Now you can see I don't have a bodies folder yet because I don't have any bodies. I will have one soon. But I do have a sketch. I'm just going to name this, oops, I guess I got to right click. Actually, let me finish sketch. Right click. Let me try clicking it slower. Okay, so that's what you do. Click it once, wait a second, click it again. It will allow you to change the name, rectangle base. Okay, so obviously that's not a truck, it's just a thin plane. In fact, if you tried to print this on a printer, it wouldn't work because there's absolutely no depth. Usually there's two ways to turn a 3D object, a 2D sketch into a 3D object. There's an extrude, which we're going to use right here. There is also press pull. And there are differences with them. Sometimes they work exactly the same, but really what we want to do now is extrude. So I'm going to take the extrude button. Since this is the only sketch I have, it assumes correctly I want to do that. And I think I'll pull it up. Let's see. Let's go with 40 for now. So I'll click OK, or you can also hit the Enter key. Now what you're seeing is we have a body. Two things happened. When I clicked Finish Sketch, when I clicked OK to finish the extrusion, we then got a body. It's called Body 1. I'm going to change that to Truck Body. It also automatically hides the sketch you made that in, or the sketch it started with. You can turn it on if you want. All you're really going to see is the blue rectangular base. But don't delete this, because the body actually depends on it. In fact, if you decide that this is too skinny of a truck, then you could go in here and edit your sketch, and you could, how do I do this? Sketch dimension, and that's not the one I wanted. I'm going to hit OK there, and I want to sketch this dimension. So actually, if I change the dimension, if I make this 60, my sketch is now wider, and when I click finish, it's now a wider box. So that's pretty cool that since I started with a sketch, when I edit the sketch, because the truck body's reliant on the sketch, the truck body changes. Anyway, I'll stick with this fat truck. So we have a solid body. One thing I'm going to show you, if I go to edit feature, this was my extrude button. One of the things I pointed out when you learned about this as art and design is this is something you don't get with a box. Okay, so the benefit to sketching and extruding is that you can also change the taper of the top. Okay, so this is how you would make a pyramid if you needed a pyramid. I'm going to keep it straight for now, and I'm going to save again. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I want to cut holes where my wheels are going to sit. And I'm going to make the wheels sit there later. I don't want to sketch in the rectangular base sheet. You got to think of sketches almost as pieces of paper, and they'll layer on top of each other. It would not be a good idea to put another sketch on the rectangular base. You'll kind of learn about that more with more experience. But what I do want to do, since I want to push a cylinder right through this, I could use the cylinder tool. It would work probably better than sketching again, but because we're focusing on sketching, I'm going to do it with a sketch. So I'm going to create a sketch, and instead of clicking one of the planes within Fusion, I'm going to click the face, the front face of my rectangle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle. There's different ways to draw it. I'm going to do the center diameter circle. I'm going to go directly to the front. Oh, my taper's still off. That's okay. And I'm going to click right here and draw a 20mm circle. And I'm going to draw another 20mm circle. See, I'm still in sketch, so I'm actually going to be making two circles in the same sketch. And that sketch happens to be on the plane that is this side of the box. So let me go to 20 again. A lot of times it's better to just type it. Excuse me. I'm going to finish the sketch. Okay, now you can see they're only circles to put out to drive through that. But you can see I have a second sketch. I'm going to click that once and wait a second and click it again and do circles to cut. And very similar to when you guys were cutting with Fusion primitives, when I extrude, I can also make a cut with extrude. Now here's what's interesting. This sketch actually is two different pieces because I drew it on the face, and half of the circle's above the face and half of the circle's below the face. But that's not a problem. Watch what happens when I go to extrude. When I go to select, I can select both pieces, which is super nice. I'm going to rotate this a little bit. And so I can start pushing it this way, but I actually don't have to. Because if you look at the operations down here, because I started pushing it in, it automatically switched to cut. So I'm going to keep it on cut. And check this out. if I go to distance, I can click all, and it goes all the way through the sketch. Something looks amiss. Yeah, I think my regular box was kind of messed up. I wonder why that happened. Let me go to home view. Woo! Oh, was this slightly? It says 0 degrees, but it just looks like it's off. Let me look at it from the back side. This way. Oh, maybe it's not. Huh. I think it'll do. But you can see it is going up. And I think that's because I messed with the box beforehand, but we're just going to let it be. If I click OK, that part gets cut out. A couple things happen. That part gets cut out because I drew on the face of the truck body. I do not have a new body. Plus it was a subtraction, so I didn't have it. But the other thing that happened was this sketch disappeared. And I need this sketch because I want to do the same thing with my other circle. In fact, I probably could have done both circles at the same time, but because you're new at this, it was better that I didn't. I'm going to turn off the rectangle, turn off the view for the rectangle base, and I'm going to put on the view for the circles to cut. And then I'm going to go back to extrude, click both parts of that, start pushing it in. Now it knows it needs to cut, and I'm going to go distance to all. That one goes up too. And then I'm going to click OK. So this is the beginning of our truck. I'm now going to hide the circles because we don't need them. But you can see there's room for wheels. We're actually going to make it shorter a little bit later. But I'm going to stop this video and pick it up at the next one. I might fix the box between videos. So I'll see you in a bit. Hope that part went well.